Dropped my notes in the rain on the way in. I still can kind of read them. August 4th, obviously that topic's on the board. All right, next. Dr. Jeff is going to help this topic out. It's going to help you find some more specific things for your life. So I would encourage folks, he does a great lecture. I'm getting great reviews from his lectures as a young guy doing lectures for the first time. He's doing a great job. The patients have found them very informative. He's going to help you folks start on the pathway to health, unless, of course, you want your government to chart your health. How many people want the government in charge of your health? I don't have health insurance. I've not raised my children with health insurance, and I would rather spend my personal money on stuff that I want to spend my money on. This system is going south quickly with the Republicans and the Democrats. So I expect you folks to make a statement with all the elections coming up to both parties. I wouldn't single any party out. I'd go after both of them. Because you better get in shape, because you're not going to want to go. If you want to know what a government hospital runs like, I want you to ask one of the veterans what it's like. Just ask any one of the veterans what's it like to have the government in charge of your health. You know, it's funny to know what's going to happen with health after a lifetime of doing this. You can call it before it happens. I want you to watch this next couple things. This is hard to believe, but everything you're going to see tonight, I'm going to change the way you think today. I'm going to change the way you think tomorrow, and I hope to change the way you think forever. Before tonight's over, I expect a huge shift in how you think with some very interesting things that will help explain maybe future legislation. We've kind of understood what's happened now. I have a feeling that more laws are going to be passed in the future, and I'd like to kind of open your eyes to some of them tonight. Now, Europe is not very happy about the swine flu claims that they fell for. There's huge meetings going on in Europe that you're not hearing about. 37 states got together to complain because they said that this huge false pandemic led to pharmaceutical firms ensuring enormous gains while countries, including the UK, squandered their meager health budgets with millions being vaccinated against a mild disease. Next. Harvard takes it back and says the swine flu was oversold. Everybody kind of understands that. Next. They want to investigate the World Health Organization, the United Nations, and the FDA, and the pharmaceutical companies involved, because they spent millions that they didn't have for something that didn't exist. Next. We claim these are just the headlines across the country that we don't see on Channel 7, not the stuff they show you. Swine flu hoax falls apart at the seams. It gets better. I just saved the best for next. Go on. This is the guy that's the head of the health at the Council of Europe. How bad is it? Wolfgang Wodarg, head of the health at the Council of Europe, said the vaccine developed by Novartis was produced in a bioreactor from cancer cells, a technique that has never been used until now. You know how many millions of people said, you know something, I'm going to have myself injected with cancer cells in my bloodstream? I sat in my locker room at hockey and listened to the guys discuss their vaccines. A bunch of 50-year-old guys, tough guys, and I had to sit there and bite my tongue and I did. But I wanted to say something listening to them discuss all the vaccines that they enjoyed because the government said it's time to get them. Cancer cells were injected into their bodies for the first time. Now, I didn't say this. I want you to look at my sources. This is everything I say can be tracked down, very simply. But if I brought this up, it would interfere with the American Idol contest, and I don't want to do that. In Detroit, if you get a flu shot, you get a free pizza. Now, they didn't do that out in Birmingham and West Bloomfield. This is kind of something unique to Detroit. My son's girlfriend, I was preparing this lecture last night, and she came over. I was sitting there at 10 o'clock at night. And my son's girlfriend, she's in her third year of teaching. She's doing something in a Detroit school. She came, sat down in the room, and she was horrified. Because as she's opened her eyes to the oddballness of the Tent family, she said she's sitting in school in Detroit, and the government came in and vaccinated the entire school without the parents' permission. And she asked, she said, look, what do you mean you vaccinated all the kids? They gave them 3 shots, didn't tell them what it was. And she started asking questions from the year or two she spent with us. Well, what'd you do? She said, you didn't ask the parents' permission or nothing like this. What'd you do? They said, we asked the kids' permission. The new H1N1 vaccines are going to be grown in dog cells, African green monkey cells, worm viruses, and genetically engineered poop. Now, it's funny to have done this for, I'll start 30 years in August, and I've got, now, if your memories with all the stuff you've been exposed to haven't been kind of dulled, and you'd remember things that already happened, I remember when they told me AIDS came from the African green monkey. How many people remember when they said AIDS came from the African green monkey? Well, they decided to use that as a carrier material for the future. And I think genetically engineered E. coli, you couldn't make this stuff up if you wanted to. I don't even... Next. Another vaccine was suspended. This is on March 22nd, recently, just last month. They found a pig virus in that rotavirus vaccine that they gave all the kids for diarrhea. Now, 30 million people had it, and it's contaminated with bits of a pig virus. It's just a pig virus. Don't worry too much about it. You know, I'm going to share some interesting cases with you today, but a lot of my day is mechanical things. Neck problems, back problems, leg problems. I don't just want this kind of stuff. But I'm going to show you a case today that rattled this country across the United States. This has changed the way major clinics have approached things. I've been telling you these things forever and ever, and I have very few cooperative medical physicians to work with. So, as one clinic said, all right, I'll bite. I want to show you what happened. This guy, there's a great clinic, and there's a famous doctor in this area. He's been on Oprah. He discussed bioidentical hormones, Dr. Brownstein, Dr. Nussbaum, and Dr. Ng. Now, I've done this about 10 years longer than these guys have been in practice. I was kind of one of the old timers, and these guys came onto the scene. And Brownstein's lectures I go to. He's one of the people that I've enjoyed his lectures because he has just done an incredible job. And it's interesting to him to talk about his awakening at trained conventional medicine and how he changed. So this guy was seeing Dr. Ng, and I knew I could get some cooperation out of this. This guy walked in. At the tip, you've all seen that MS walk. He's got that terrible MS gait with the cane and, you know, a walking instrument. And he came in. He said symptoms started at 90 when his left leg would not cooperate with his right leg. He had numbness and weakness in his hand and his right foot. He's even had stem cell therapy in January. He went out of the country. They've done everything. They've seen 100 doctors. He wanted to come to see me because he heard I was a masterful adjuster. He wanted a real adjustment on his atlas because of all those little phony brainstem issues that you've seen me put in front of you for 30 years. So he got his first real adjustment. He was been very excited, and I said to him, I want you to go back to Dr. Ng, and I want you to tell him to run every viral test on you that he can run. If you can make up a bunch of new ones, just run it. You ready? This clinic completely freaked out. He was Epstein-Barr positive. He was CMV positive. That's 2. His thyroid antibodies were positive. That's 3. 3 viruses. He had herpes 1, herpes 2, and herpes 6. That's what was attacking his brainstem. 6 viruses were crippling this guy. And if you go back a couple of slides, what kind of things were they putting inside your body? This clinic changed everything how they view MS. So the guy comes back and says he's very grateful. Everybody's switched treatment in another direction. He's thankful. And he said to me, I just want to tell you the way the story went because you'll see how simple this is. You're a genius. Thank you so much. You're incredible. I don't know how you knew this. You're a genius. Thank you. You changed my life. I'm walking better. You're incredible. How'd you know this? You're a genius. Watch. Go back. He had herpes in 87, Bell's palsy in 92, and he had mono twice. I said, you told me. I said, you told me. He told me the viruses are, you told me your whole life has been a viral attack. I said, this doesn't take brain surgery. And to spend, he's probably been to 20 doctors telling the same story. I believe Richard Pryor had herpes virus 6. I believe Richard Pryor's brain was eaten away, just like, who was the guy in the milk bottle? Was it Howard Hughes? The guy up in an apartment building sitting there in Las Vegas. I think the same thing he had. Next. This guy was in last week. This is a professor. I can't say the college that he was in. His wife's kind of a pit bull. And he's 74 years old. He teaches at one of the major universities here. Lives in Bloomfield. Sees the Bloomfield Birmingham doctors. This is my life. This is a normal day. So I walked in the room and sat down. Diagnosed with progressive renal insufficiency. His kidney function is failing. Kidneys are functioning at 80%, BUN and creatine's up. I walked in and looked at the professor and said, you're on 13 medications. I said, you're on, at 74, he's on 13. I said, do you realize I can't put you in a nursing home on all these medications? He said, I don't want to go in a nursing home. I said, I couldn't put you if you were drooling right now because you're on too many pills. They will not take you on 13 medications. And I said, 3 of these are causing kidney failure. Which ones are they? The gout medications right there, those will put the whack to your kidneys, and the water pill. And not to mention, that one causes diabetes. There's the diabetes pill. The Tricor and Crestor, I said, your nationality, chief, you grew up on fat and protein. Now you're on a low-fat diet. This one caused that. These 2 cause diabetes and gout. So these 2 cause diabetes and gout. There's his diabetes medication, and there's his gout medication. And this is the best doctors that you can see. And I said, you mean to tell me nobody's brought up to you this, maybe all this stuff is ruining your kidneys? Oh, no. Oh, no. This is not Inspector Clouseau stuff. This is pretty easy. Some simple, I asked him to bring his pills in. I was hoping he could put his wife on a short leash. She's the problem. I can feel the problem. And I put him on some simple kidney support. And I said, I want you to digest all this stuff in your professor brain. I said, let this roll around in your IQ. And I said, I want you bringing all your pills back. And he said, you bring all your pills back and we'll see after you've digested this if we can maybe help this. But I don't want to rush it. He's a professor. I'm trained to think. His wife's going to hit me with something when I walk in the room, so. A gal that I think, for some of you folks, that goes to Holly, some of you folks that might know, I asked this girl, can I use your file? She said yes. They hospitalized her for 4 days. Now, you got to catch this. Severe low abdominal pain, vomiting and diarrhea. They said you might have celiac disease, Crohn's disease, or an intestinal virus, or you have a urinary tract infection. So after 5 days in the hospital, I discharged her. She still had nausea, vomiting, and stomach pain. So she said, what do you think happened? I said, I think you ate a piece of poop. I said, I think you ate poop. How many times have you seen E. coli on the news? What do you think this is? There's poop and pee in all your food. So 4 or 5 days in the hospital, they discharge her. She's still sick. Her dad brings her to see me. I fix her in 3 days. Now, you folks that have had this, I got them coming in with ulcerative colitis. I had one this week. 15 bloody bowel movements for 15 years. They've been doing this forever. And it was funny, I had this nice little Oriental kid and his nice little Oriental mom. And she said, what do you think happened to my son? I said, this is from eating at Chinese restaurants. And she kind of laughed, and then I... So they run $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 worth of tests. I don't know what 4 days in the hospital is. So by the time I fix her, she's fixed. 3 days. If it's been there 15 years, it's going to take a few months. Because as I try to fix you, you're going to get reinfected as you eat. That's the tricky thing. Trying to fix you while you're eating all this junk in the food gets tricky. So she's fixed. Vomiting and diarrhea and nausea. She goes back for her results and they say, we think you have a kidney infection. She's vomiting and diarrhea. It's not the kidneys. It's in someplace else. So this diagnosis was, we think it might have been a kidney infection. It's coming out the other end. This is something special for the guys. Special for the guys. Since I took a very short snowboarding vacation, for you truck drivers, for the UPS drivers, for the people who drive for a living, long distance haulers, all this kind of stuff. I have a bathroom in my office that I can get to in 20 steps. Now, if I want to dial down, so I went snowboarding with the kids. We attacked the canyons for 3.5 days. I should have had a helmet on. I lost 3 IQ points when I caught one edge. I lost some IQ points. Some patients are going to laugh when I tell them this. I caught one good edge in a snowstorm. It was special. I knocked myself silly. But to sit there in the mountains, at my age, at our age, I took 6 of those a day for a week before. And the point of the story is, I went to the bathroom once a day at lunch. I could forcibly shrink my prostate. If you got to sit someplace for long periods of time, I can dial in my urinary tract if I want to. This worked so good for me that I said, I'm going to share this with the crowd. If you're someplace and you're going to be someplace that you can't or you don't want to stop, as we get older, that's some of those things. That worked so well, I went to the bathroom at lunch over the whole day and never went after I left the room. And I was out there all day. I pleasantly surprised me. And I've done it before, but I just never talked about that. They think that they're over-testing and over-treating. Too much cancer screening, too many heart tests, too many C-sections. Everything's overdone. The Australian Journal made a comment about ADHD, and they said it was 10 times, the kids were 10 times worse on Ritalin. 10 times. The Australian Journal. Ah, that's okay. Next. Now, the reason I have to mention a couple things before I start some of this lecture. First of all, I got this guy named Matt. He's in his upper 50s. He retired from a long career at one of the big three. He had one back surgery. That was a mess. And I've had patients have great back surgery, so I'm not here. When you have to have back surgery, they've done the good surgeons out there that I've worked with have done great jobs on these people, great jobs. So I don't know anything about this. So he had one that didn't work, and he had a second one, and he came in, he was all messed up. So I had to use some iodine, some vitamin D, and some very specific adjustments, pain-free. He's perfect. I treat him, I treat his kids, his family. They're great, great folks. And the point was, he goes to apply for a maintenance job at a hospital, or at a doctor, like a doctor's clinic. Some big clinic, they're looking for a maintenance supervisor. So he goes and applies for his job. They look at his resume and say, you're perfect for this job. You're perfect for this job. We couldn't ask for a better person. So they screened everything and called him in. They said, we can't hire you. They said, why? He said, our insurance company won't let us hire you. Our insurance company, we can't get coverage for the other employees if we hire you. He said, but I don't have any pain. I got fixed. He said, we don't care. He said, not only will we not hire you, our advice to you is to go on disability. He said, I don't want to go on disability. They said, they don't care. No one's going to hire you. Number one, I have two Kellys in the back. There's Kelly that's been there the longest, running the projector, and the other Kelly. The other Kelly, this happened about a month ago. I'm warning all you people. I'm warning you guys do not know what's happening behind the scenes. Her mother's 59. She's on disability. Husband's a GM retiree. 40 years on insulin. About 8 weeks ago now, Kelly comes in and says, my mom's hysterical. What happened? Her insurance company said, we will no longer pay for your insulin. They've been paying for 40 years. It's $300 a month, and you're done. And she's on a fixed income. 3 vials is $300. Number two, you cannot afford to let your health get out of control today. There's never been a time you cannot afford to get your health out of control. I sent a patient in for back surgery. His MRI was a disaster. He had neck surgery. He blew a disc out so bad, I sent him straight into back surgery. As he's recovering from back surgery, the nurse walked in and gave him a swine flu shot. Just like that. Didn't ask him. He couldn't speak. He couldn't talk, and he couldn't move for 3 days. And now they're treating him for a secondary disease. You must have something else. It took him 3 days to be able to voice, this is from the shot. Now, I was amazed because he came in. I said, all right, he told me the story. I said, look, I want to pay for a hair analysis on you to see what happened. It was amazing. It took him 3 days to park that preservative in this shot before I could start to talk. Very impressive. They did not ask him this. Number three, I'm sitting at a Coney Island right next to the office. I'm sitting there eating lunch. There's these two old hippies sitting there and this 23-year-old girl. And I'm sitting there, and these guys are talking about drugs. What kind of drugs did you take? I took this, I took that, I took this, and I took that. This girl sitting with them, I didn't know how she fit into the program. She must have been one of their kids or something. But maybe if it was a work group, couldn't have been one of their kids, probably a work group. So I'm sitting there listening to this conversation next to me, reading the paper, listening to their discussion. And she said, I went to apply, she's 23. She said, I went to apply for a job at PetSmart. She said, I wanted this job so bad. So she said I had to get drug tested. Filled out the applications, they checked my background. I went and got drug tested. I said, I'm not going to be a problem. I don't take any drugs. They called her and said, we can't hire you. And she said, why? I don't take, heroin or cocaine or marijuana. I don't do anything. They said, no, you take Adderall. She said, but my doctor put me on that for ADD. They said, we don't care. Who put you on it? We're not hiring you. To watch people not able to get entry-level jobs because of the medication that their doctors put them on. You've crippled their careers. All my son's friends in Northville take ADD medication. All of them. All of them. My son just watches them and watches how they change. They're this big around. It's killed their appetite, made him extremely angry, and I listened to him say, all I want to do is fight. You weigh 100 pounds dripping wet. I'm going to give you some advice. Don't fight. I said, someone's going to mop up the floor with you. Your best bet is to not fight. Amazing. So she couldn't get her job at PetSmart because they drug tested her and found prescriptions in her. Patients come in and tell me all the wonderful things they're taking. The Mayo Clinic found that a study of almost 100 clinical trials were stopped early because positive treatment effects were noted. They have found that many of those effects were exaggerated. They lied in the trials. 100 clinical. You think this might be a problem? Lying during the trials to get you to take stuff. I have lots of Purell guys today. I have very special Purell guys. The men carry hand sanitizers today. The men carry hand sanitizers. Norway is the best place to get in a hospital for infection. This is what it said. The Aker University Hospital is a dingy place to heal. The floors are streaked and scratched. A light layer of dust coats the blood pressure monitors. A faint stench of urine and bleach wafts from a pile of soiled bed sheets dropped in a corner. Looking closer, however, at a microscopic level, and this place is pristine. There is no signs of a dangerous and contagious staph infection that kills tens of thousands of patients in the most sophisticated hospitals of Europe, North America, and Asia. You know how they did it? They stopped using antibiotics. Stopped using antibiotics and beat all of our pristine hospitals. Number one. I got some involved stuff today. I've mentioned this before. I just want to briefly cover this. Back in 1936, Senate Document 264 said, there's no way you can eat enough food to satisfy your body. You can't do it. 1936. Millions of acres of land no longer contains enough of certain minerals, and we're starving to death no matter how much we eat. Next. You can sign this DVD out to go over some of these. Next one. That is the next one. A no-manna today can eat enough fruits and vegetables to supply his stomach with mineral salts he requires for perfect health, because his stomach isn't big enough to hold them. I might question a few of my patients about that. I would think their stomach could hold it. Dad? You know why a lot of people are overweight today? You know why you're overweight? Because you're starving to death. Simple. You want to take your synthetic vitamins with nothing in it, you're basically starving to death. And you know what happens when you're starving to death? You'll eat a mountain of food this big. Mr. Burns, I've been with the nomads. I've seen their trips. Those people ate more at lunch, at breakfast. I don't think people eat so much at breakfast. They ate more at breakfast than I could eat the whole day. I was amazed. A couple special, my dad has one of his friends here that I know belongs to a travel group. And some of these places, to have the hotel staff watch what it's like to have a plate this big piled in the morning, I don't know. They're starving to death. And they're going to eat tons of food because there's nothing in the food. Nothing. That was in 1936. Before the genetically modified days, the Roundup Ready days. There's an interesting time coming. Next. With my lunch today, I have a little routine that I do every day. I take whole food supplements. I don't want synthetic vitamins. I would not take a synthetic vitamin. People bring all this junk in. I'm not taking synthetics. I'm not taking synthetics. We can't even copy a blade of grass. We know nothing about food. Most of the stuff that I take hasn't even been discovered yet because it's cold-pressed food. The first company in the history of the world for making supplements was Standard Process. That is the benchmark. I'm very fussy to get my 91 things a day because I don't want to eat like that. My parents are getting, we lived in the same house my whole life. My parents have been there, you said, 56 years. They're in great shape. They've talked about Fox Run. How many people have heard of Fox Run? My friends, we were talking about this. My dad said to me they have some friends there that they visit. They go out to lunch and they're healthy. And he said, my friend Jack has gained 30 pounds his first year there. I said, at this age, you think you want to gain 30 pounds? He said, if we go out for lunch, they have to get back for dinner because dinner's going to be there. It's this huge pile of food. And you try to get them to miss dinner, they would leave you at the table, wouldn't they, to get back for dinner. I said, if you think it's a victory to gain 30 pounds at this age, the more I eat, the worse I feel. I get tired, I get lethargic, and my moods go straight down the toilet. I don't feel good stuffed. I want high-quality things, and I feel better. That was the first vitamin in the history of the world. I take 6 of those a day. I don't want the first vitamin in history. All right, next. I take my minerals, simple things. Next. I like some essential fats. That's the cheaper way of doing it. I take a more expensive version. I take the tuna oil and the Lion B6. I try to do all the cheap stuff because you guys have enjoyed all your free coverage things. Anything I ever got for free, I had to pay to get rid of. I was at a restaurant since the last lecture. I was at a restaurant. And on the menu, it said grain-fed beef. I don't want grain-fed beef. I want grass. They advertise this if it's a good thing. You don't want grains, put you to sleep. You were supposed to eat your grains in the fall to fatten up for the winter. You weren't supposed to eat grains year-round. These things slow you down to prepare you for hibernation. These things speed you up. You're drowning in these things. You're drowning in corn and wheat All this stuff does is make you fat, sluggish, and hibernate. The threes, think of the fish-eating cultures, and then look at the grain-fed cultures. Look at where all the people eat out of the ocean. They can work all day, and you see what we're stuck with here. I want as much as I can get, I want grass-fed chick. So when everybody says how bad beef is for you, now you look, you gotta understand something. That beef is healthy. That beef is not healthy. The sticky oils, the slippery oils, the things that slow you down, the things that speed you up. So you can find all kinds of tests on animals to tell you how good or bad they are, but it's what they feed them that has a ton to do with it. You want the threes in your life because you're getting tons of sixes. So eating this stuff, all the breads and the corn and all these grains, you're being put to sleep all the time. You're not supposed to be put to sleep all the time. This is what I wanted to get to because this is very frustrating to me. I'm watching women. I've had at least 10 women minimum. I've had more women in the last 3 months come in, I want to stop my antidepressants. I said, why? They're making me fat. They're making me fat. I know you like all your pills. Now you're depressed. You were depressed before. Now you're depressed and fat. Do you feel better do you women feel better when you're fat? Do you feel happier? You look in the mirror, does it make you? You guys are getting fat from your doctor's prescriptions. I have so many people on this stuff. I did a lecture on that, which I'm not going into today, The Secret History of the Essential Fats. Patients, you can take that out. Weight gain is a reported side effect of nearly all antidepressants. I ask them, well, how much weight have you gained on this? 35 pounds, 40 pounds. I don't want to try to lose 40 pounds. I got to watch this stuff now because losing weight isn't fun. Is it fun? How many people enjoy losing weight? Is it fun? Does anybody enjoy this? No. You know why it's no fun? Because your blood sugars stink and you get crabby and miserable and nobody wants to be anywhere near you when you're losing weight. Because you're going to be miserable. I don't even want to be near you when you're losing weight. I'd rather have you fat and happy. Next. I remember these two sisters back in the summer. She was 300 pounds. She's here. She wants me to help her lose weight. Oh, no. I looked at her file. I said, Norplant. I said, oh, you had that Norplant thing and you injected it into your arm, eh? That birth control thing. Well, it worked for birth control. It worked very successfully. She's over 300 pounds now. I didn't mean that negatively. Take that out of the tape. I'm just kidding. Very successful. I looked at this. She was a delightful woman. I said, how much weight did you gain since they shoved this thing in your arm? She said, 150 pounds. She said, my sister had the same thing done, and her sister was in a waiting room. She blocked the sun. I thought there was an eclipse. Estrogen is in all your food. I had an estrogen moment on the way in here. Do you know that? I felt my feminine side coming in here today. You know why? I used an umbrella to get here. The last lecture was raining, and I ran and got soaked. If you remember, it was raining at the last one. So I'm looking through the cupboard for an umbrella, which I have never used. Guys, real men don't use umbrellas. So I was exploring my feminine side today. Got some Purell in my pocket. Sanitized my hands. Steroids. Beta blockers and water pills love to make your glucose go up. I could spend hours on medication and weight gain. Next. This lady was in Monday. She's a judge. Okay, I'm going to tell you, she's a judge. She came in, she looked like a judge. She looked like a judge. She's a year older than me. She looked just like a judge. When she started to get snippy, you're out of order. You're out of order. Give me that. I took the gavel out of her hand. I said, you're in my courtroom now, Your Honor. I said, so, and she says, I have trouble losing weight. Has tried many diets like avoiding wheat and dairy, no change in weight. I looked at this lady, so you're a judge, eh? I'd like to ask you a question. I said, my nephew is in the clink for a $6 bag of dope for 80 days. I said, how come those Wall Street guys got bonuses? And she said, I don't know. I said, see? I rubbed it in pretty good for you guys out there. She had trouble losing weight. I looked at her, I said, you're on estrogen and she went to an alternative doctor. I love the alternative doctors today because it's the buzzword today. You want to say alternative. Now today, alternative doctors will put you on Lipitor. Alternative doctors will put you on an estrogen cream. Alternative doctors, they'll give you a flu shot because it's prevention. Lou opened the door today, a person that has genetic clotting. How many genetic clotting factors have I ran in this crowd? Everybody raise your hand that had that genetic clotting factor in. There's going to be some in the crowd. I'll put you, if you don't raise your hand, I'm going to make a fool of you. So I gave a patient with a history of heart attacks and strokes in their family the genetic clotting factor panel. And Lou opened the door today. And what did you say to me today?
The doctor said they can't run the genetic clotting factors test because that's preventative and we don't do that.
I tried to head off the heart attack at the pass. And the doctor said, that's for prevention. We don't do that. This is the cooperation I get. David Letterman has a genetic clotting factor. Dick Cheney has a genetic clotting factor. Why hasn't taken him out, I won't know. He's held up by the dark side. So I looked at this lady. I said, for Pete's sakes, how do you expect to win on steroids and estrogen? And her husband hit her and said, for Pete's sakes, that's the same thing I'm telling you. I said, who put you on that? She said, my alternative doctor. I said, well, how much weight have you gained? Oh, good 30, 40 pounds. Well, congratulations. You found your alternative doctor. All right. I don't even know what to say. Alternative doctor. The plastics, the BPA. They're finding this in the newborns. And remember, as my assistant Kelly is, look how sturdy Kelly's been. She's due Monday. Now they said you're going to come early, and she's here today. Everybody's questioning whether she was going to make it. Kelly has very aggressively kept the estrogen out of her body while she's pregnant. If you want a little sissy, you get exposed to too much estrogen when you're carrying your baby. And it's a guarantee the kid that gets slapped around in class. If you get too much estrogen when a boy is in the womb, you start feminine characteristics permanently. You think we have a problem today with the men? Anybody think we got a problem with the men? Birth control pills. I won't ask for a raise of hands, but everybody gains weight like crazy on birth control pills. I had a lady today. How much weight did you gain? Well, I was having irregular periods, so they put me on the pill. One of my long-term patients, she's been with me 25 years. She brings her daughter in. Now, I've known this family. I knew her first husband. We're on number 2 now. You're a clue. She brings her daughter in, and her daughter's this big around. She said, my daughter's gained a ton of weight this year. She's 16. I walked in the room, and I said, blank, because she's going to see this in the waiting room. I said, blank. I said, she's 16. I said, are you taking the pill? Yeah, but only for my periods. So I got a hold of her mother outside the door. Her daughter's 15, 16. She has a boyfriend. She went to the doctor to get the birth control pill, took her mother to Red Robin, sat in the middle of the restaurant where she couldn't hit her, and told her, I've experienced the wild thing, to clean this up for the crowd and the kids in the waiting room. Well, I said, well, how much weight did you gain? She said, 80 pounds. Her mother's going to see this too. The hormones and the meat, the beef chicken, change your life. The plastic bottles, those milky bottles. I had a Kinetico filter installed in my house. I drank 2 bottles of Aquafina at work today. I try to drink as much out of I have a 7-step filtration process. I'm getting my water straight out of the Detroit River. I have a very good filter. I'm trying to get away. I want the chlorine, the fluoride, I want the plastics out of my life. Now, if I look across this crowd, I have a Caucasian crowd. Mostly. I'm going to ask you a question. I'd like to ask my non-Caucasian patients. And tell me if you didn't ever wonder this. Some of the sisters. What some of their figures look like. Go to where they live. I've seen enough breast on one side that could fill a Caucasian subdivision. Half, just one side, not the other side. The other side would be the other subdivision. There's a famous rap song, I like big. Okay, number 2. It took me a long, I always wondered about this. Their hair care products are placenta and estrogen based. Extremely. This has happened from dunking themselves in exogenous estrogen. It took me a long time. I know the creator did not design that. And I look at some of these people's figures thinking, how did you end up with this? God bless them, they made us all. But there has to be an explanation about these cases. And that's what and you look at all the hair care products, all their cosmetics are tons of estrogen. And that's what they say has distorted them during crucial developmental years. That's huge. I'm very, for all, look, back to the Caucasians. Most of you women use 5 pounds of cosmetics a year. You want the amount of chemicals, you always tell me how pristine you all live, the amount of chemicals you guys put on yourself is a disaster. It's a disaster. And the coconut oil, you want to look good from the inside out. You can have skin looking just like this, simple sun, some oils, a little coconut oil, keep the estrogen out of your life, keep all the chemicals out of your life, and you can look a lot healthier from the inside out than the outside in. Genetically modified soy. I take a Gamma Octopro shake because I know where it comes from. It's not genetically modified soy is going to get you. Soy and corn and soy are the most genetically modified foods you're getting. Next. There's your project. I enjoy sitting by the fire in the backyard and take your laptop, Google the disappearing male. It's 45 minutes and watch it. You will not believe what's happened to the environment. You will not watch the men. I enjoy playing sports with 18 and 20-year-old guys. I played hockey with them before. I just run them clean over. No, You hurt me. Exactly. You're in the way. Get out of the way. I can't imagine when I was 18 playing sports with a 52-year-old guy. It's amazing. The Pentagon said most of these kids are not fit for service. My dad asked me one day, how would we ever win World War II with these boys? From a Barca lounger in the middle of Nevada guiding the drones is about another story. Next. I expected my niece to get a copy of this, so I can't tell the story I wanted to tell. So I've flown back. You go to the next one. I'm very fussy. My dad just had his PSA checked at 84. 0.6. My dad's right in the front row. I've been a 0.7 forever. My brother called since the last lecture. He's 61, lives out of state, isn't really that interested in what we're doing. Brad just has a 7. Calls my parents, my PSA's going up, the doctor's scared, they want to biopsy it, do all this stuff. I said, we've been detoxifying our estrogen levels forever. We've been keeping the estrogen out. So I said to my dad, when you get a physical, ask the dude if he's ever seen a 0.6 on an 84-year-old. My brother is getting into trouble from all the plastic bottles, all the estrogen in the environment, the lawn sprays, chlorine, all the stuff in the food. I eat commercial food. I got to clear this stuff out because I don't want to get behind it because I'm not going into the... Next. Passover's over now, right? Well, how long ago was Passover? How long ago? 9 days ago. Right now, if you can go, now I heard Costco had it. I know Oak Park could have this. You can find kosher Coke. Kosher Coke and Pepsi, made with cane sugar. High fructose corn syrup is the only sugar that causes diabetes. High fructose corn syrup is the only sugar that doesn't tell your pancreas to stop. You'll eat it forever. Every other, go home and try to get sick with honey. Take sucrose, take natural table sugar, and see how much you can have. You can't. It makes you stop. You'll eat high fructose corn syrup till the day you die. And it never tells you to stop. There's 2 hormones that the pancreas produces that every sugar triggers to tell your appetite center stop. They've learned that high fructose corn syrup is the only sugar that causes diabetes. This is what's killed the Americans. This is the sugar you want to stay away from. Absolutely, and it's in everything. Good luck staying away from it. It's in everything. Everything. Child diabetes blamed on a food sweetener. You're not going to be able to afford your insurance premiums. They're holding all this stuff over your head. This is the year to get in shape. Bar none. You don't want to visit the doctors. You don't want to go to the government hospital. You don't want to go to the government hospital. My kids don't know what a pediatrician looks like. They don't have any clue. Next. High fructose corn syrup. It depletes chromium. I'm going to teach you how to shut this off. Chromium. It depletes chromium. Depletes chromium. Chromium is important in helping glucose pass from the bloodstream into the cells. That's why I have men that crave beer. They crave beer because they like the chromium. There's chromium in beer, but I don't want to start you down that road. I know the judge, and I'll give him your name. Next. High fructose corn syrup causes corn levels to drop, which raises LDL, cholesterol, and triglycerides, and impairs immune function. As high fructose corn syrup's gone up, our diabetes has doubled. You have to try to stay away from that. chromium helps, and I'll show you that suggestion coming up here. Next. I've had fun with this atypical depression thing. I've had fun. For the Americans, I could send them on a buffet line to hell if there was food. You can get people to sit through anything if there's food. Anything. My favorite, go to Maui and sit there in the morning choking down some genetically modified breakfast and watch the people on a timeshare excursion for a free breakfast in Hawaii. I don't want to see it. I'm here in Hawaii. I don't want to listen to a sales pitch for half the day. I want to go. Oh no. Just sit and watch the guy at the clipboard and all the more rotund people following him. They just got breakfast. I have patients. One of my dear old patients that has passed away, but at 85, Mr. Sophie was a great guy, and he'd like to know he was being mentioned here. We live out in Birmingham, West Bloomfield. The kids hang around with all the names of all the products that you know. They grew up around all these kids. So whenever they go to a wedding in Birmingham, and I went to one of the weddings out there went to their wedding. Holy cow. I've never been fed like this before. But I used to tease him because when his kids got home from a wedding, it wasn't what celebrities are there, who showed up. As soon as they walk in the door, how's the food? How's the food? Everybody wants to know how the food is. Atypical depression, people are only happy when they're eating. They're only happy when they're eating. They're overweight, they sleep more than normal, they don't want to deal with the public, they crave sweets, they have an increased appetite. If you want to keep people happy, keep them eating. Just keep them eating and they're happy and the food runs out, we got to go. Feed the dog. If you don't have a dog, I got to go anyway. I'll buy a dog. Keep them happy, you keep them eating. I need help avoiding the less carbs I eat, the more stable my moods are. The less carbs I eat, the better. It's much more even-keeled mentally for me. And the cheapest way to do that, I do 4 GTF in the morning and I do 4 after lunch. I need to keep my yap closed. I'm going to keep my yap closed. I can't will myself to stay away. Once you start to pick, the slide starts. Now you can't get away from it. I have to pay to shut my mouth to keep myself under control with my weight. I take a cheaper way to do that. You take 4 now you don't want to take an isolated mineral. The best way to do this for you folks, the cheapest way, you take 4 of those chromium picolinate, a vegetable cultured chromium. I wanted a vegetable culture. Cheapest way to do that, 4 in the morning and 4 of those. You need to balance. That's a food. That's a food. That's a vegetable culture mineral, and I need to balance it. I don't like taking isolated minerals long term. If you put those 2 together, it will very successfully help control your carb cravings. Less carb, and what has that done for me? Helped make my sleep 10 times better. The less junk I eat during the day, the better I sleep. And I need to sleep because I got to sit and listen to all your wonderful relatives. Not you, it's your relatives. All day. Next. Carb craving, mood swing, fatigue. This works very good for the insulin-resistant people. And there's a ton of you. How can you spot the insulin-resistant people? Go to the gym and watch the guy that works out all the time there, and he doesn't have one ripple in his stomach. How often do you work out? I've sat and looked at these little doughboys in hockey 20 years ago, trying to find out why. Listen, I remember sitting in this locker room in Dearborn. There was the Pillsbury Doughboy sitting here. And the guy said to him, how often do you play? He said, 6 days a week. There's hockey junkies. And not to see one muscle on that dude skating 6 days a week. So you want to look at the people, go to the gym, spend 2 months there. If I can't see one of your muscles, you're insulin resistant. It's very simple to spot. You can walk in, I can look at you and see if you're insulin resistant. You can tell, very simple. Next. When the brain is flooded with serotonin, satiety, whatever you want to say, normally occurs. A serotonin deficiency has been associated with the carbohydrate binging that contributes to the accumulation of body fat. Obese individuals have low blood tryptophan. That's where all the antidepressants came from, because they arrested tryptophan, and then the Prozac days started, and the SSR, and the chemical imbalance days. Next. If you're really insulin resistant and your moods, you put chromium and the 5-HTP together, keep your moods up, stabilize your sugar, you'll eat a lot less. Keep yourself from starving to death, balance your blood sugar. That's an antidepressant. So that's part of my process in helping to wean people off stuff that's made them fat. 5-HTP directly is a precursor to serotonin. Promotes peace, calmness, improves sleep. If you're an anxious person, take that in the morning. If you need help sleeping, take it at night. If you're using it to control your cravings, take it in the morning and like the afternoon. I take St. John's wort in the morning. I take 2 every morning to keep my moods up from yelling at half of you. I'm not yelling at you. But I want to be anxious because I have a hard day. That leans more for those little more anxious people. I'm not an anxious person in that regard. All right. Fiber has a lot to do. Fiber can significantly blunt the glucose insulin surge. For you folks that are facing diabetes, fibers can help effectively slow the absorption of carbohydrates, helping you control blood sugar levels. Next, gastrofiber. You take that before you eat and helps for the folks that really have trouble with carbohydrates. It'll keep you from absorbing the carbohydrates. All right, keeping up with you. I have a very special video clip today that I have 2 special video clips. I'm getting to one. I got to get to this video clip because it's going to help change how you view everything. You're going to view everything. How many teachers do I have in this audience? Teachers? Okay. I'll tell you, all you teachers, all you preschool teachers, the special ed teachers, when you go to school tomorrow, the kids will never look the same before I'm done today. By the time you go, we got some prizes somewhere. Where are they all at? Right there? Oh, good. We'll explain that in a minute. Got some special weight loss things. Keep your tickets. Next. 6 deadly chemicals you carry in your body. Everybody's got these. I thought this was interesting. That BPA, there's all the plastics. They're calling that an endocrine disruptor. Now, the FDA's been running interference for these companies. You don't want all this plastic in your system. It's disrupting our hormones. Next. It's kind of interesting that this is on Mercola's site. They called mercury permanent brain damage in Mercola's website. So let me get this straight. The H1N1, which the whole world got, was full of mercury and cancer cells. There's lots of people. We got extra. Next. Battle of the sexes. One gene keeps us either male or female. Women and men are constantly battling to suppress their masculine and feminine sides, at least biologically. There's a constant fight to either remain female or male, and the suppression of just one gene could cause it to flip from one to the other. There's a judge on American Idol that I'm going to say I have seen her change how she looks. I'm not going to say who her name is. You can flip it on, and you just sit and watch how much this woman's changed her looks. And thing is like, and God created us all. We cannot be the judge of anything. That's not our position. But you watch these people that have borderline awful close to one side or the other. A lot of hormonal issues today. Next. Don't say that. Today, this is out of the New York Times. They've been putting a window cleaning chemical into the fast food hamburger meat. Now, what do you do with all the extra cow parts and trimmings that have traditionally been sold off for the use in pet food? You scrape them together in a pink mass and inject them with a chemical to kill the E. coli and sell them to fast food restaurants to make into hamburgers. That's what's been happening all across the USA with beef sold at McDonald's and Burger King and school lunches and other fast food restaurants, according to a New York Times article. The beef is injected with ammonia, a chemical commonly used in glass cleaning and window cleaning products. Now this is the point. I want to give you another tip. And I eat pretty simple foods. I want to see the piece of meat that I'm eating. A chicken breast is a chicken breast. A crummy steak at a restaurant can be a crummy steak. At least it looks like a steak. I would be very leery of the nuggets and the hamburger patties. You don't know. You want to see what the meat looks like. And I know it probably stinks, but I don't think it's the scrapings wherever the scrapings are. I want defined pieces of stuff. I don't want that mush burger anymore. Now, can I go have a Wendy's? Yes, I can go do something like that, and you're not going to not see me do that. But I've kind of really cut down things that I am not really sure what they are or where they came from. Nothing goes to waste. Old hen meat fed to pets and school kids. Pets might like it, but among most consumers, spent hen meat isn't very popular. It's tough, stringy, and far less appealing than the most tender meat of broiler chickens, but that didn't stop the government from using the National School Lunch Program as an outlet for the spent egg-laying hens that they culled each year. The USA Today said the primary places they sent it was pet food, compost piles, and schools. There's a lot of kids too. All right. I've tried to tell you, I have really had a battle with parents, doctors, hospitals about parasites. I have been told, I have heard it said, in 30 years, we don't have parasites anymore. I've fixed people with horrible diseases, and they said, well, I went and told my doctor what you fixed him with and how he's all better, and my doctor said, we don't have parasites anymore. There's no such thing as parasites. Thank the good Lord for this program. How many people have seen monsters inside me? Raise your hands. The last time I watched it, I watched them take pork parasites. They had to take the guy's head off. Did anybody see him take the guy's head off? Who raised your hands? Who saw that? There's 2 hands out there. 3. They had to take 4. They had to take the guy's head off and pull him out with tweezers because they couldn't get him out any other way. You sit and watch this show on the Animal Planet and you tell me that there's not parasites in these people. I wouldn't even want to, what they showed where these pork parasites were, I would not want to walk by a pig, let alone eat it. The bacon sausage was done for me a long time ago. You do not. You watch that show, you have to see it. And they said the only ones we can get are the ones we're pulling out with the tweezers. The ones buried, burrowed way down inside, we can't get to those. We just hope they're not going to be a problem. You watch what's burrowed in these people's bodies. Make sure you watch. That show was horrifying. Horrifying. We have some very specific, how many, I'm sure, I don't want to embarrass anybody, we've dewormed. I had to deworm one of the head doctor's wives at Beaumont because they were going to cut out 3 feet of her bowel because they called it a diverticulitis attack. What I got her to pass in front of him, we could number in the 1,000. If you want, ask questions about this. We can kind of do a little. Now, this goes much deeper than just that gut pain. These things go anywhere, and there's some you're never going to get rid of. I'm going to put myself, when I'm done, I like to do this every couple of years, a very aggressive parasite protocol. And if anybody wants to go on YouTube, brain parasite. They did brain surgery on this dude. How many people saw the one on YouTube? They opened this guy's head up, and they pulled, the surgeon just stood there, and he's pulling a parasite out of the tumor. And it was that long in his brain. It's on YouTube. It's pretty easy to find. But watch that show. I'm going to do, every couple years, I whack myself really hard with a parasite program because they're eating out all the time. And they don't wash the stuff well. They don't wash the stuff at all. Next. Just some lead in the morning helps the medicine go down. What more can you say? But look, when they used to buy our debt, we can't complain. All right, next. Let's see where we're at here. Children reaching the age of 3 without being able to say a word. People reaching the age of 3. 1 out of 4 boys, 1 out of 6 girls can't talk. My kids talk so much, 17, 18 months, I threaten them with vaccinations. If you don't shut up, I'm giving you a DPT shot. My son is 18. He was at the last lecture on stage. He went to the Infinity Gym since the last lecture. He's very gymnastic. He's a motocross person. He's the one flying through the air. He's a gymnast. What he can do on a trampoline, you'd be totally impressed. Run across, jump across the floor. Self-taught. Doesn't want the leotards or the tights. He's all boy. I tried to get him to do something. I'm not wearing that under any circumstances. No Purell. No tights. So my son went to the Infinity Gym. My patient owns that. It's on Grand River at the Pleasant Valley exit, Guy Tyson's place. It's an Olympic gym. Take your kids there. So my son, it's free time. You got to pay, but from 1 to 3 on a Sunday afternoon. So he'll take his friends there. They jump through the pits, zip lines. You know, they got the ropes. It's a whole Olympic gym. So my son went there, come home. He's 18, and walked up to me and said, "Thank you." I said, "For what?" He said, "Well, thank you for everything." And I said, "Why?" He said, "What the other kids are like." He said, "There's something wrong with the kids." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "They can't read, they can't write, their faces are all scrambled up, they can't even bounce on a trampoline." He said, I said, "Watch this." He said, "What?" He said, "Whatever you did to me, thank you I'm not like them." Now, how many of your kids are going to say that? Totally unprovoked. Thank you, because I'm not like one of them. Now, you want to know the one of them? Now, remember what he said to me. Their faces are all scrambled up. Their faces are scrambled up. Now, I want to go back to that bottom thing. The government's new advisor on childhood language development I can't believe how many women come in and say, what are you going to school for? Speech development. Speech development. Isn't that a normal thing? Didn't we just kind of like talk to people my age? Didn't it just kind of come out? You watched Felix the Cat, and you said to Captain Kangaroo, and you started to talk. I mean, you got to train the kids to talk today. Oh, yeah. So if I had a nickel for every woman that came and said, I'm in speech development. Why? The new advisor on childhood language development said childhood health targets were too focused on obesity levels and immunization rates at the expense of more subtle difficulties. Huh. We focused on immunization rates at the expense of more subtle difficulties. Now, is this in your way here for the screen? Now, I'm going to... I want you to watch this clip. I want you to digest this. You're never going to think this. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to have this guy will be on here. I wouldn't want to get on a plane with him. I would be nervous to get on a plane with this guy. He's got 6 degrees in neurology. He's the valedictorian of every school that he's been in. What he has to say, I see one of those car accidents coming. One of those Vince Foster things. I would be very uncomfortable what this guy has to say. You will never... I watched this, an hour-and-a-half DVD. I would encourage you all to get. Me and my parents watched it. Shut the DVD off. The first commercial, right? The first commercial after this hour-and-a-half thing, this is where it's got a little excerpt. You could see it on the doctor's face on the St. John's Hospital. The first commercial that was playing on the TV when we shut this off. You're going to know, you teachers, you're going to go through life. He's going to explain what really happened with autism. There's going to be some websites to follow. This is about just under a little 10-minute clip. This is deep. I want you to be quiet, pay attention. I'll help navigate this a little bit so that you understand what you just saw if you have any trouble. This is absolutely the end of the story, and this guy is brutal. And he said, I can put the brain together upside down, backwards, hanging from the ceiling with my eyes closed. I know what happened to the brain, and he does. Sit and watch this and just digest it.
This young girl's from Italy. Vaccines. They called it aseptic meningitis. What does that mean? Well, look very carefully that when you damage the brain, impair blood flow, because this is one of the problems. When you impair blood flow in any riverbed system, the weakest trickling streams further from the increased block upstream are the first areas to dry up. There are multiple areas in the brain function in end blood vessel territories that when you decrease flow, and by any means, these areas are uniquely susceptible, and the functions they subserve can create features we can see facially and motorically that our MRIs cannot see, that our CT scans cannot see. SPECT scan, angiogram, you cannot go to the medical doctor, you cannot go to the ICU, you cannot go to the emergency department and say, doctor, how's my blood flow happening in my capillaries? I got 60,000 miles of them. They don't see it. They have no tools to see it. So therefore, if you've got a problem they can't see, they blame you. But they have a drug for it. And if there's some natural health products to help that, well, they make those illegal. Big problem. This eye right here is deviating in. That's a 6th nerve lesion to the brain by impaired blood flow. The eye here, 3rd nerve is here, 6th nerve is here. They act like yokes to an ox. The neural inputs come down and pull them together simultaneously. This is not a muscle problem in the eye. It's part of my imaging system that I use. Once you know the neurological functions in the brain, I have over 32 measures, 12 of which I actually use in the contemporary imaging now. I can go back 50 years ago and prove causation for vaccine-induced brain damage in autism and learning disabilities and ADHD and Gardasil death. This is the non-invasive way I can show you techniques you cannot see. All these numbers reflect specific cranial nerves. You have 12 nerves from the brain, from the shoulders up, that come down and control functions from the shoulders up. Eye blinking, eye movement, smile, frown, blow your cheeks out, turning your head side to side, hearing, sight, all these things. Some things I can see and measure that you cannot see, but I can do it non-invasively. Pictures and video alone. To get a hold of us, 877-NOW-I-CAN is the number. If you have children or anyone you know who's been harmed and they haven't got the funds or resources, we're raising money. We have Joe Ganascoli from The Sopranos is on our team. We have Major League Baseball great Gary Sheffield who's joined us. And we're looking for every celebrity we can because you have to pull yourself out from all these different advocacy groups. If you just got in the business of being in advocacy, before vaccination, MMR, 24 hours afterwards, eye popping in, autistic, loss of language, does not speak, seizures, father's a pediatrician, did it to his own grandchild. He's been fighting for the last 15 years trying to go save you all, but no one's listening. Watch carefully. Third nerve palsy. Eyelids come out of sync. Sometimes you can and cannot see it. This is normal. These are non-vaccinated children. I got to give you some happy things before I go break your hearts. This is normal. Eyes are nice and symmetrical. Corner of the face is symmetrical as well. Keep in mind I have over 32 measures, 12 of which I use in my BrainGuard imaging system. Things I can see you cannot. Because until you know and diagnose what the problem is in basic physiology, you cannot treat anything. I first diagnose the problem. And I can show you here things that you can see. This is normal. This is normal. No vaccines, by the way. Normal. Symmetrical. Normal. This is the way God intended our faces to look when we were put on this planet. Normal, normal. Back in 1960s, normal. That's me back in 1966. I wasn't really normal, but my eyes were. I'm sure my mother thought I had 3 heads. Normal. Beautiful normal. Neurotypical. Cerebral palsy. Hypoxia at birth. Hold the phone. It's not vaccine. Impaired oxygen to the brain. Cerebral palsy. Cerebral is brain, palsy is paralysis. Wrapping the cord around the neck as you're being born, lack of oxygen in the brain, the end blood vessels, fingertips, nose tips, toe tips, uniquely susceptible. This eye pops out, and they're paralyzed. And they have thinking problems and learning problems. Curious. Mobius, pre-post vaccine. Colleague's son here, learning disabilities, ADHD. After vaccines, eye popped in, had seizures. Brian Luttrell's son, one of the Backstreet Boys, Bailey Luttrell, actually diagnosed with Kawasaki syndrome, inflammation of blood vessels, same thing, John Travolta's son died from. It's not Kawasaki's. Kawasaki's is a label, a symptom of mass ischemia in response to repeat vaccinations. Eye popped in. Johnny Lebrecht, autism after vaccines, eye popped in. Sister, same thing, autistic, on a feeding tube for 2 years, impaired blood flow of the brain, they can't see it. Gulf War vet, influenza, eye popped in, corneal mouth dropped. Kidney shut down, they say coincidental, it's 100% safe. Influenza, measles, mumps, rubella, diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, MMR, it's all the same process. Here's why we can't see it. Capillaries are tiny. Here's a micron, a dot on the head of a pin. A micrometer is 1/1,000,000th of a meter. A strand of hair is 1 micrometer wide. Capillaries, 60,000 miles, the reason why we live and breathe and stay healthy on planet Earth, are 5 to 10 micrometers in diameter. The red blood cells that squeeze through them are actually larger than them. They have to bend in half and squeeze through there. White blood cells aren't getting down them at all. Too many of these, you can't suck golf balls through straws. No oxygen. Why can't doctors see this problem? They cannot see what's right in front of their eyes and their nose. Why? Day of birth. After vaccines, look what's happening. No one knew. She's having silent strokes. Welcome to every other child on this planet. More strokes happening in evolution. She's developing autism as we speak after every vaccine. The problems are additive after each one for everybody. Infant and adult alike. Parents don't know. Parents didn't know this. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in diagnostic workups. Must be something genetic. I've got over 5,000 children and adults, all the same problem, within hours and days of vaccines. My tools can diagnose this going back 50 years ago. If you have the pictures or video of children, it's the same problem. It's mind-blowing. Look, look, look. We're dumbing down the entire planet. Look where she is now, autistic. That's a stroke to the brain. That's a stroke to the brain. She seizes. She doesn't speak. She doesn't talk. She's cut off from the world. She has sensory abnormalities. She doesn't speak. It's everybody. Now, this is from Grand Prairie, Alberta. Hold your socks here because now you're all going to wake up and see my nightmare that I've had since 2001, and you all need to help me stop this. Here's Nevaeh from birth. Incidentally, I like reading her name backwards sometimes. It's the only place I trust anymore these days. With her eyes, first day home after birth. It's a normal, healthy child, like all children. Normal, normal. May 2nd, 2-month-old vaccine. Look what happened. No one knew. She gets better. This is a transient ischemic attack. Stroke to her brain. She gets better. By June 18th, she recovered. She comes up to her 4-month-old vaccine. Day before, bang, gets hit again. Picks on the same area did after 2-month vaccine. She recovers. Each vaccine is causing strokes to the brain in silent ways for everybody. September 22, October 5, October 9, October 10th. Day before, these 6 vaccines from the Alberta Public Health Department. Look at the eyes. Day after, bang, bang. Want to follow her now? She had no more vaccines since then. Let's follow her through. 10 days out, she's stroking her brain silently 10 days out. Month out, this actually is more strokes here we'll get into. January from October, 6 months out, is getting worse. She's never had any more vaccines since that point because once you break the camel's back and blood flow here, it becomes its own tumbling weed that you can't stop. Watch where she progresses. This is what we did this girl. Look where she is when I saw her this year. She seizes every day, does not speak. Sensory abnormalities, parents, another. Cost her healthcare system hundreds of thousands of dollars, work her up as well as everybody. 1 in 87 children have this problem. 80% of the families are divorced. $40,000 a year to take care of them. 1 in 6 has a specific learning disability. 15% has attention deficit disorder. We sell them drugs to go fix the symptoms that we caused. It's decimating our country and our planet and our fellow beings. These are actually strokes. We'll go through that. Strokes, strokes, strokes. Eyes out of sync. Cannot see it. Catch them here. See how the eye blinks are out of sync here? You cannot see that. It happens too fast. If you look at a computer monitor, it looks like a solid screen. Put a camera to it, play it back. Because of the flicker frequency rate, you can actually see lines through it all of a sudden. This is brain damage as well. Third nerve palsies. Watch. Gulf War vet after anthrax series. Gulf War syndrome. Nevaeh, same problem. Corner of the mouth slightly flattened here. Nevaeh does not belong in this place in life. We did this to her. Gulf War vet, influenza vaccine. Before, after, stroke, stroke. They say they're 100% safe. Must be in your head. Gulf War syndrome.
You can find this guy on YouTube. And you sit and watch. There's not one test, MRI, CAT scan, that will show this up. He's telling these kids have all had strokes in their brain. So we get done, it's an hour and a half, get this guy's DVD. The first commercial was the St. John's Healthcare commercial. And there's this African-American guy sitting there, and we just looked at the first commercial. One eye's pointing straight, one eye's going straight out to the side on the first commercial. You can see he's going to show you adult strokes. You take him, this guy's got 6 degrees. He's going to put all his degrees up. This is not the guy to argue with about the brain. You're going to lose. Give him all your baby pictures. He'll show you, he'll look at all your pictures. He'll show you the picture before and the picture after his vaccines by looking at your baby pictures. The mouth droops, the eye turns in, the brow goes down. These are microscopic strokes. This guy, learn all his stuff, what he's got to say, because I see a car accident coming for this guy. He's got some brutal stuff to say. Unbelievable. Go home, watch it on YouTube. You can find it. His website's tough to get through to. We've had trouble. I wanted to pass out a bunch of his DVDs here for free to the crowd. That was part of what we were going to give away. We couldn't get them. I had trouble getting them. But watch it on YouTube. Look up his website. and you'll never go through life, you're going to see this on faces everywhere. Everywhere. Unbelievable. I got some my weight loss stuff. I have some important stuff coming up. Just hold on. The risk of a blood clot after surgery. I'm tired of all these articles that I see all the time because people argue with me over stuff in the office because of what the TV said. What the TV said, I'm so tired of what the TV says. Please help me with this. There's a lot of information out there. Don't tell me what the TV said. The risk of a clot after surgery is higher and lasts longer than previously thought. Next. Wow, they found these CAT scans are a ton worse. Scans have higher levels of radiation than previously thought. Estrogen caused more cancers than we previously thought. Everything that I see after the fact is, man, this is a lot worse than we thought. Do you realize 29,000 new cancers a year? I got kids that have CAT scans on growing pains. I got them that had it on sinus infections. I've got them on because they had an earache. The radiation that they've exposed you to, it's Hiroshima. Those full body scans that all the rich people are having, 1 out of 400 is going to croak from it. 1 out of 400 is just going to croak from the scan. This is like spending the day at Hiroshima. They've whacked. I don't want you to have all these tests because you have the insurance for. I've had one lady, I'm so glad I didn't set up in that Birmingham, Bloomfield area. Everybody's brother's a neurologist. Their cousin's the head nurse. The next door neighbor's a proctologist. I had one lady in Birmingham that's had 7 heart catheterizations. 7. Each one's 100,000 x-rays. She's had 700,000 chest x-rays. Then when she gets cancer, why did God do this to me? I don't know what to say. All day. How many scans? Growing pains, 14-year-olds. I've had CAT scans and MRIs on his knees because his knees ache when he grows. I don't have to tell you. The insurance industry has creamed these people. There's all these autistic cases on the East Coast, all those computer centers, the computer tech world. They want to find out. They're curious. Why did all these high-income people and all these tech companies have all the damaged children? They don't know. They have the best insurance. If you find the best insurance, you'll find the most damaged children. It's guaranteed. I see it every day, 30 years. My dad grew up with good insurance. I had good insurance. I fired the pediatrician at 15. I told my dad, he's right here, I'm done. I'm sick of the shots, the chemicals, the magic sticks up my nose. I don't want the checkerboards on my back. I'm not doing this ever again. From 15 to 52. You're not touching me again. You're not touching my kids. Ever. I'm raising my kids differently than I came along. But that's what they thought was the thing to do. Next. Only the Creator can make food. Man cannot make food. You want to eat high-density foods. Remember, if it's raised or grown, it's food. Just remember that when you're looking at your plate. Today, I had the steak-chicken combination and a baked potato. I have to be awake tonight. I had a protein shake. I had a huge protein shake. I had 10 Cataplex B and 2 Ginkgo this morning with a huge protein shake with my chocolate and my nitro greens. The staff orders food before this event. And Kelly said to me, would you like food? I always say no. I don't want to do this with any food. I had a huge protein shake, 10 more Cataplex B and 2 Ginkgo. I took 6 grams of Ginkgo to come here and do this. I want my brain on full alert. I don't want to drool in front of you, stare off into space, look like the people that I drive behind in the morning. We're doing 19 and a 25. We're doing 31 and a 35, and we're weaving at that. Drive me I drive behind some of these people. I can see why the job issue might be a problem. You can't even stay between the lines at 31. Your food has, you look at that website, how do you feed your kids? Your kids don't need fruit all day, and they don't need fruits and vegetables. They need fat and protein. Everybody, what they fed their kids, your kids are starving to death right in front of my face. They're starving to death. They're sickly. Kids need fat and protein. People feel, oh, all he eats is pizza, bagels, and fruit. He needs fat and protein. He's growing. I say this all day. He can't focus in school. Of course he can't focus in school. I could not eat like you fed your kid and come in here and do a reasonable job. I couldn't run the register at Blank Mart if I was doing this. That's a great website to look up, Raised or Grown. There's a density that the Creator can put in food that we cannot make food. Absolutely, man can't do it. But you want to get fat? Eat that hollow food all day because there's nothing in it. Have no vitamins and minerals, and you're going to starve to death, so you're going to eat empty calories all day. Pound the bagels, pound the bread, pound the waffles, pound the toast. You can't live on that. It's going to make you fat. Next, empty calorie foods. There's very few things in it. Man can't make food. There's no density to it. You can eat 8 bagels and you'll be hungry again. You're full, but you're still hungry because there's nothing in it. I want to eat less and feel better. You need density to your food over and over. Next, preferably grass-fed poultry, beef, free-range eggs, beans. My vegetarians, I have one vegetarian in this room that probably does it right. She pounds the beans, she gets it. She understands you can be a vegetarian, use your head. A vegetarian, most of my vegetarians are carbitarians. They're pastatarians. They're desertitarians. And they eat 1 or 2 fruits, and I've had my stuff. No, you're not. You're not getting enough protein. I hate to say this, I have very few hard-working vegetarians. They don't eat good enough. They're tired. They're always tired. Nuts. I can't believe how much nuts. That's my snacks at night I try to do. Next. Protein helps build and repair your body's tissues. Good. Enzymes, hormones. Remember, you need protein to make your enzymes and your hormones. And cholesterol, if you want to have no testosterone, take your Lipitor and Crestor. You need cholesterol to make your testosterone. So you want to know what's happening to the men, suck the cholesterol out of them. And remember, your brain's half fat and half cholesterol. So since my entire new patients are on low-fat, low-cholesterol diets, that's why they stole the country out from under you. Your brain was dead. Women come in all the time. I can't grow a nail. I can't grow my hair falls out, my nails fall out. I sit down with these people, you're starving to death. You're starving to death. There's nothing in your food. You're falling apart. And you're only going to get away with your mother's recuperative powers as you get older. You're going to get a lot of stuff from your mother. When that stuff starts to run out, differently for all of us, is when you start collapsing. Next. Protein, good. People, when they get the DVD, can read that. Next. That's the shake I had. That makes me fills up my stomach. I like that. I have different, when I want food, I'll show you what I do for food. I take 2 huge tablespoons of that in cold water. I have patients, I don't want it in Kool-Aid. I don't want it in apple juice. It's stuff that people try to do a protein shake, and you might as well not have even have done it. If you got to do it in Kool-Aid and, a pop, and I want it in water. I want to wake up. I don't want to go to sleep. That's what and I don't want GMO'd soy. If you don't know where you're getting your soy from today, you better watch it, because you men will grow boobs on it. You want to grow boobs? Get genetically modified soy. I've watched men grow boobs on genetically modified soy. They'll grow boobs. And remember, when that gets bigger, the other thing gets smaller. Whey is a great source of protein. Kids like that because it tastes good. Next. Well, they got a bunch of different kinds. Experiment, find one, pick one, wake up. The less they eat, the better I feel. When they want to run experiments on animals to make them fat, they give them MSG. That's a little secret thing that they do to the animals in laboratories to make them fat. It tricks the appetite centers and makes them fat. And there's all kinds of things with this little MSG thing in it. Next. My overweight people have tons of trouble with triglycerides. I've talked about Cataplex B a lot. There's a lot of my patients that have too many triglycerides. That's the fatty liver pill. Too many triglycerides, the LDL's out of control. They need, geez, the dilating half. I am more of the blood sugar person. Hyper, triglycerides. Number one cause of liver failure is non-alcoholic fatty liver. Royal Lee said the number one pill for the liver is Cataplex G. That's all the food, those are all dilators on the other side to help flush the fat. This isn't for fat people. Don't look at fat and fat. Triglycerides are fat, all that LDL stuff. That's what you use to help flush the fat out of your liver for these fatty liver people or the people with triglyceride problems. Next. Now, I just finished a 50-game season. Now, this is very important to understand. I played a 50-game hockey season, 10 o'clock at night, 10:30, 9, working all day, twice a week, 50 games. The only way I retired from hockey about 3 years ago because it was too hard to get up in the morning, stay up late, have trouble falling asleep, and the patients don't deserve me taking an hour or two to wake up. This is very important. I had to sit, I have a perfect thyroid panel. And I can't do this with most of you because most of you have got 8 doctors, 3 specialists, and your cousin's a nurse. I don't want to deal with one of them. I've done this longer than all of them. I had to sit and look at my thyroid panel, which is perfect. Treating my thyroid with 1 iodine pill woke me up enough to come out of retirement and go back to hockey. But if I asked my special doctor, do you think there's something wrong with your thyroid's perfect? I'll tell you right now, 45% of your thyroids out there are dead. I shouldn't say dead, under-functioning, subclinically spent. Fluoride, chlorine, and bromine, what you brush your teeth with today, the European doctors use fluoride as a thyroid-suppressing medication. You can't brush your teeth with Crest and all these commercial toothpaste. I will not use that stuff. I remember my son went to the grocery store, me and my son 10, 12 years ago. And Dylan, my youngest son, he's 18 now, he's fussy about his teeth. So we come home, and here's Crest whitening toothpaste. And what is this? Oh, the tooth whitening thing. I like my white teeth. And so as soon as he turned around, I threw it in the garbage. Where's your toothpaste? It says in the garbage. I said, you're not going to brush your teeth with that. You ain't that bright to begin with, and you're not going to make it worse. Fluoride dulls your IQ. Fluoride slows your thyroid. Do your little search on fluoride, corner your dentist. There's no such thing in the body as fluoride. It's fluorine. Fluorine. Fluoride is F2, fluorine. All of these trump iodine. All of them trump iodine. Bromine. Next time you go to the state fair, there's a sign on the wall, those old-fashioned signs in the barns, Hank's Bread. It said never brominated, because they used to bleach bread with iodine till they found out bromine was 100 times cheaper. Your swimming pools shut off your thyroid, your hot tubs. White bread is it's bleached with bromine. They say about 12% of you are clinically hypothyroid. About 45% are subclinically. I'm more wide awake treating my thyroid than about anything I've done. Getting up in the morning is 10 times easier treating my thyroid with perfect numbers. So there's a lot of things I'd like to do for a lot of your metabolisms, but I don't want to go through Larry, Moe, and Curly to do it. I don't want 57 phone calls. I don't want your sister to come in with an attitude. I don't need you to bring Uncle Joe, who now doesn't work and went to a weekend seminar in his friend's basement on multi-level stuff. He'll straighten us out. So there's things I can't do with you because I don't want to deal with all your relatives. I'm absolutely serious. I'm absolutely serious. Fatigue, headache, weight gain, depression, feeling cold, and a host of other problems. And your doctor won't know that a bromine-induced dysfunctional thyroid is the cause. Dr. Brownstein, right in the middle of West Bloomfield, is the master blaster for thyroids. He knows exactly what this is because he's the guy that wrote the book on it. Fluoride, tap water, toothpaste. Prozac. Anybody know the generic name of Prozac? There's got to be a pharmacist here. What is it? Fluoxetine. What do you think the fluo part means? Prozac is a fluoride-based molecule. All the tranquilizers start with fluo. Flomax, Flovent. All the tranquilizers are built on a fluoride molecule. How interesting. How interesting. So in the Midwest, with no iodine, you've ground to a halt. Eat your grain-fed beef, eat your empty calories, don't get any quality supplements, become amazingly deficient, have somebody else cut the lawn, don't get out of your car to open the garage door, watch the other guys work for you. Next. I do that every day. You want to get your teeth white? You spray that on your teeth? Very simple. Those two things. I spray that on my teeth. Well, what used to be my teeth. I spray that on what used to be my teeth. And when it stops bubbling, I brush with that. It's very simple. I do whatever. Your teeth. You want to get your teeth white and not end up fumbling at the register for change. They put us to sleep by killing our thyroid. Next. Your basal metabolic rate controls everything. How fast is if your basal metabolic rate's high enough, you can burn calories while at rest. Most people are just the size of a plant. I drive behind you. I know. You ain't burning calories while you're driving. Next. Iodine supplements. I take an iodine supplement. I feel much more awake, and my metabolic rate's higher. Lugol solution in Jarvis's book, iodine. That's what all the farmers took. Next. Now they're taking Armour away from all the people. How many people are taking Armour? A lot of people. They're going to take that away. You're going to have to find a quality source to try to stay away from. Remember, all your files and notes are being requested by everybody, and all your problems, all your polyps that you had scraped, your hemorrhoid surgery is going to be against you, the medications that you took, your blood panel. You guys opened up your world because it was free. Now you are in a big, huge problem with jobs, with careers, with health coverage, a huge problem. You can have all your little scrapings, and everybody knows everything about you, and it's going to be held against you. Next. Simple glandular support works outstanding. I'm not going to talk about dosages because everybody's very unique on this stuff. Next. Now, I don't know why we put this on, but it's good for the engineer people. The engineers are the hardest to get through to. They know a lot about nothing. They're very frustrating patients. Tell me how to run my show. I'm still wondering where the Pinto came from, guys, okay? We can discuss the Pinto at another day. Let's put the gas tank right in the back seat. That was all planned at Ace Hardware, I know. Hooters was where they did a lot of work in those days. Next. Hormones involved with weight gain. Simple tests you can get run through the office. DHEA, hypothyroid, estrogen dominance. A lot of estrogen dominant women and men. A lot of estrogen dominant folks. Simple blood tests that you can run. Next. Once you've had your gallbladder taken out, you got to eat all the time. You're going to eat all the time. Get your gallbladder out, you're going to start eating. Why? Bile keeps dripping into your gut, and it's going to tell you, I'm going to eat a hole inside you if you don't eat. So you ask people, how much weight did you gain after your gallbladder was taken out? 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds. I gained weight. Why? Your bile is leaking into your gut, so now you got to eat little bits all the time. When you learn how to use that pill, once your gallbladder is removed, one lady said to me, my depression's gone. A, D, E, F, and K is fat. A, D, E, F, and K. You do a low-fat diet, you start to die. Once your gallbladder is taken out, you start to poop out A, D, E, F, and K, your fat-soluble vitamins. People say, my skin changed, my depression went away, I can't believe how much better I feel. One lady said to me about 2 weeks ago, I've only been in the sun once or twice, look at all the color I got in my face. I said, you need fat to keep the skin from frying you. Get out in the sun and get cooked, there's no fat in your diet. So everybody without a gallbladder is on a low-fat diet. You don't want to live without A, D, E, F, and K. You need to learn how to use your bile salts when you eat fatty stuff. Everything out of a microwave will make you fat. Everybody, if you want to nuke the food, I want you to think about this. I'm going to nuke the food. Say it over and over until you realize this sounds like a really stupid thing to do, but this is a stretch for lots of people. Nuke food makes you fat. Your body doesn't know what to do with it. It ruins the food. You know how many countries microwaves are illegal in? You can't buy a microwave in Russia. It's against the law. It screws up the food. Nuke the food. It's weapons of mass destruction. I know it is. And look, some people come from a family of fat. God bless you. If that's the way it is, and that's the way your genes are, there's a percentage of people, it's just the way it goes, and do the best you can. When you're running from the mugger all day, when your cortisol's, anybody can't fall asleep, look into your cortisol levels. If your cortisol's high, when you're running from the mugger all day, you're not digesting your food. Running from the mugger, not digesting your food. Running from the mugger, not digesting. So when your system is in a constant state of stress, you can digest nothing. Find somebody that knows how to help. It's like the other lady, they said, well, you need your adrenals are off, so we're going to put you on cortisone. That's not how you do this. You don't do it that way. You get fat doing that. Low-fat diets make you fat. A low-fat diet's a high-carb diet. You want to get fat, do a low-fat diet. Now you're going to start to eat carbs because protein and fat go together. Next. We're almost getting right to the end. Look, in the olden days, I want to make it simple. In the olden days, you were only exposed to food after you worked outside all day and you went in for lunch. Food triggers are destroying you. Keep the food triggers out of your face. Keep the food triggers, change the channel, put the magazine away. You can't have food in front of your face all day because it's going to stimulate you to eat. They know exactly what they're doing. Don't fall for it. Food triggers are designed to make you eat when you're not hungry, and it works like a charm. Food triggers. Next. I take 3 Super CLA a day. There's some great literature at work that we can talk. I love my Super CLA. Weight loss increases my metabolism, gives me some energy, helps shrink fat cells, an energy boost, helps keep your system toned. I do that. I've done that for years, every day. Next. In the bag, you're going to find that. We have that to give away. I'm going to show you the little package to do this. Outstanding stuff. I have a couple women out in the crowd doing this. You guys are you're the only one doing this so far. You know that, don't you? She said, gal in the pink back there said, this stuff really works. I let one person try this. So I was going to share this with a couple patients. Take 2 of those right before you eat, about 15 minutes before you eat. There's a long explanation on this. It works very well. Makes you feel full, helps you pass some carbs, some starches. It works. There's a long explanation, which I don't have time to do today. That's in the bag. Do 3 Super Seal. Let's put the next slide up and I'll explain that. Take your 3 Super, I do this, 3 Super Seal in the morning. Take these 15 minutes before lunch and dinner. I like my chromium in the morning and chromium after lunch, and I take a huge protein shake in the morning. Makes it much easier, and I take my 91 things at lunch. Next. Very cool stuff. Dr. Jeff was talking about this. He's going to go into more detail with this at his lecture. He said everybody was using this in school. They felt great. They slept great. This was a big thing in college. I don't know a lot about this, and I'm going to let Jeff handle this at his lecture. Next. I have a contest for you folks over the summer to shut off American Idol. We have a special guest. I'm going to have a special guest at my next lecture. How many people think right now there's strange things going on in the world? Is there strange things going on in the world? Governments run amok. Economies run amok. Wall Street's run amok. The religious organizations are running amok. School systems run amok. The environments run amok. The foods run amok. I have a little homework assignment and I have a contest. See all that stuff on the table? I have 3 of those sets. That's $400 worth of stuff. I have a contest over the summer. I'm going to have a special guest at the next lecture. I want you to watch. This gentleman's wife is in the crowd. I'm not going to point her out because I want her to be anonymous for this. I want you to watch a friend of mine that might shed some interesting things on how the world's running amok. Hit it.
"36 seconds into the Apollo 12 mission, something very strange happened. Those of you that are a little older, you remember hearing the news reports about what happened on that day. Lightning actually struck the spaceship. How many of you remember that? Quite a few of you. Yes, lightning struck the spaceship. Now that created chaos within the cabin. The warning lights begin to flash all over. I mean, if it could fail, it failed. It was a very interesting situation for those astronauts. You know, as I reread that story not too long ago, I got to thinking, you know, that experience that they had with the Apollo 12 mission is like a parable of this planet. I want you to think about it for a second. We have some 6.5 billion passengers on this spaceship. We're traveling through space at 65,000 miles per hour. That's fast, isn't it? It's amazing. And it's interesting to note, ladies and gentlemen, that the warning lights are going off on planet Earth.
How many people think the warning lights are going off? There's total chaos right now. So I have a project for you folks that wanted to. This is not obligatory. There's some tickets in the back. Lou or Melissa's going to have this. You're going to have to go watch this gentleman's series, and I'm trying to get him here to draw the tickets to try to find, you have to answer 3 questions. 3 questions after you watch Steve. Privately in the back, for you shy people, this is not in front of everybody. This won't be discussed at the next lecture. It's a contest, They get 3 piles of that. We're going to have 3 winners. And whatever else I can find out. If I can get this Brain Guard guy's DVDs, trying to get through to him is awful challenging. I want to have some other presents for the folks that try to do the series. There's a special ticket for this you can get out of the one door. Lou and Melissa are going to be in charge of that. I think is it a yellow ticket? It's a blue ticket. Blue ticket, there's going to be a drum to stick it in at the next lecture. You put it in. We're going to draw 3 privately. You're going to go in the back, answer a couple simple questions, and see what you can win. Next. Now, I walked out after our last game about a week and a half ago. I put my hockey bag in the car and said, amen. I survived 50 games with a bunch of animals. And it's a bunch of animals. We try to kill each other for a hat or a T-shirt or some crummy little trophy. I had, through the air, hockey's as brutal as it looks. This no-checking league, we're killing each other in a no-checking league. After 50 games, I had 6 major collisions. I'm here to tell you, because of 30 years on that trampoline, I was 6-0. Fights started on the ice because of me running over defensemen that they thought I had an attitude about. They got in the way, and I was flying along. I cannot tell you how much that has helped keep me trim and toned. It's allowed me to beat the kids up in Northville. It's allowed me to challenge my son's friends in like everything. It's allowed, when my son, who's grown up, thanked me 100 times for raising him on that. Watch him and his friends go motocross riding. You go get beat up north of Gaylord on all those trails for 4 or 5 hours, and you watch these kids come in and become one with the carpet. Dylan, within 15 minutes, give me something to eat, give me something to drink, I'm ready to go out. Until he is so used to being shooken up, riding a motocross doesn't bother him. And I've said to him, do you see how different this is, being toned compared to your friends? I would encourage I try to do 20 to 30 minutes a day. It gives me very quick legs on the ice against my age group, and it makes me very sturdy. I want my mom doing this for osteoporosis. You need weight-bearing exercise. It's a facelift. I could spend 2 weeks talking about this and not repeat the same thing. Build your exercise program around being toned. What books do you have there? That's one. Mediterranean diet. That glycemic index has a ton to do with keeping your weight under control. Next. Protein Power. The guys that I highly respect recommend these books. Next. Good Calories, Bad Calories. Next. I'm out of sheets there. Oh, there's 3 massages on part of the tickets. Lou's going to call some names. A young man in Plymouth that I have been going to, having some stretching stuff done because you get some repetitious motions going over and over. You've got 3 gift certificates from him. Next. We kind of covered that. Next. After that. Weight is a complicated subject to try to get across because there's so many different factors about this. Dr. Oz had a show about weight 2 Fridays ago. Anybody? I don't know who this guy is, but I was sitting there and this was on, so I watched it. It was such an absolute simple approach to weight. There's much more to this weight issue. And people ask me about this all the time, so I tried to put it in one spot to make it easy. I would hope at the next lecture, I would like to spend an hour out in the crowd testing people, and I might be able to do that at the next lecture. I have a blast testing strangers with the technique that I do. Hopefully, next, if I don't find too many interesting things, I'd like to spend more time in the crowd. Lou is going to take this over from here, call the names, pass out the prizes. That weight thing, that whole packet, that's what's in the bags. You got the other ones for the massage stuff, the tickets, and I want to thank all you for coming. I'm going to grab my umbrella and go out to the car.